Hi, everybody. Welcome to our podcast, The Old College Try. I'm Peg Keogh, and today I'm joined by my guest, Dan Bisig. Dan is one of our CAP experts. He has years of experience working with families on the admissions and financial aid side. Today, Dan and I will be talking all about waitlisting. What is it? What should you do if you get waitlisted? How do colleges handle this? And a lot more. So stick around. You won't want to miss this. All right. Welcome back, everybody. Doesn't have anything to do with college planning. Well, I guess it a little bit does. Tax day is over, so that's a good thing for people. We're past April 15th. Woohoo!
Woo-woo. Yes.
Maybe you're extending and it doesn't matter. Although I will say, in the college planning space, get your taxes done as quickly as possible. That's not what we're talking about today, but that just popped in my head to share. So welcome back, everybody. I have a guest today who we were just talking about before we hopped on, has been on before, but it's been a while. And his name is Dan Bisig. Internally, we call him Lasso because he's very much like Ted Lasso. So I might slip and call him that during our convo today. But he's special to me. He's been a friend and a colleague for years. And when I was tasked to build this expert / pros team we call at CAP, I'm like, oh, we got to bring in this guy. So you were my guinea pig. You got thrown in the frying pan at CAP when we were first starting out as an itty bitty startup, and he's been great. You've been our guy for so many years. So thanks for joining today.
Yeah, thanks,
He's
Peg.
a unicorn because he does financial aid, but he started out for years being an admissions expert. So he does both for us, has his own business doing admissions as well. So a lot of people in the space are either very admission focused or like myself, 100% financial focus. So he's both. But I'm going to let you say hi in a minute. But before we kick in, for those of you that listen all the time, you know about this, but I'm going to just give a little background. Matt Carpenter, it's our podcast together. He's getting a break today. We are super into music. So when we started this podcast, we thought it'd be super fun. Just every week we start with a song that we like and why we like it. And you should be building a really great list of stuff to look up on Spotify from listening to us. So some of our guests are game to share their song, and Dan is. So why don't you share your song and anything you want to share about it?
No, it's absolutely The Boss is Born in the USA. Love that song. And I think it's one of those songs that can just get you rocking and focused and ready to start a new day. So,
Yep.
and I know you're
100%
a
agree.
huge fan of the guy. So, the man
Yes,
in the
I
myth.
am. I did not pay Lasso to say that,
No, you did not.
to pick a Bruce song. And I think I probably talked about it last week. I just saw him in concert, and it was very focused around the political things that are going on. So of course he played that song, right? That was in the mix. So, and you're right. It's not his best, like from a storytelling standpoint song, but it does. I mean, who can listen to that song and not get charged up? I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
amazing. So, all right. Well, thanks for that. Why don't you say hi and just tell everybody something I didn't tell you I was going to say. Is something special, different about you, as well as you can elaborate on your background too.
Sure. Well, thanks, Peg. It's great to be with you again. So, my background, I actually was a financial planner for about 15 years and then got introduced to this whole world of talking to folks about college funding. And about the same time, actually, soon after getting about 20 clients to work with, I had a woman who was doing the admission side with me. And it turns out that she very quickly realized she was going to be working evenings and weekends. And her husband said, nah, baby, nah, not going to allow it to happen. I was at that crossroads of life. I had to decide, what am I going to do? And I got a chance to go visit colleges over in North Carolina with a bunch of high school counselors, and I was hooked. I mean, I absolutely said, this is the coolest thing ever. And so I moved full throttle into that. That was 20 years ago. By the way, I just got back from visiting those same North Carolina schools, which was a circle of life moment. It was pretty incredible. But anyway, love what I do. I really do get to talk about with a lot of families both sides of the equation. And admissions right now is pretty heavy duty. So is the appeal process, which I know you guys have already talked about on here. But just happy to be here today to talk about this unique situation that some colleges put students and parents into.
Yeah. So, as he just said, if you have a senior, your child's gotten into the schools they've gotten into, they might have been waitlisted, which is what we're going to talk about today. And even if you don't have a senior, stay on because this is coming. If you have a junior, this is just one of the many pieces of all of this. And it's important to understand what waitlisting is. And I'm going to hit Lasso with tons of questions today about this. So it's going to give you a good feel for what it is. Unfortunately, like most things in this process, the colleges don't all use it exactly the same way. And he's going to talk about that as well. So why don't you just tell us what waitlisting is? There might be some people that have younger child, just hitting high school and it's like, what are you guys even talking about? So what is waitlisting?
Well, I mean, let's remember that there's basically four ways that you end up getting a decision from a college. A student could be accepted, they could be rejected, they could be deferred, or they can be waitlisted if the college does a wait list. And so a wait list is basically a hedge that colleges use is a way to make sure they have high quality students that didn't make it through the first round to fill in if they have students that choose not to go to that college. And that does happen. I mean, even for the best, the Ivy League schools, there are some students because they apply to multiple, top highly selective, or as we like to refer to, highly rejective colleges that they may need to fill some spots. The problem is from year to year, that number can fluctuate. It could be that I was looking at some numbers like Duke in 2025 let in about maybe 50 students, around 50 students. In other cases, it might be just, a very small number, but it just depends from year to year what's going on with that and if they're hitting their numbers, meaning are they getting the deposits that they're looking for? So that's what happens.
Yeah, so they're basically because no college gets 100% yield, meaning they
Right.
give out, okay, here's all the kids we want, and they all come back and say, we're coming. Like to your point, kids apply. I mean, what's the average number of schools that kids apply? I mean, you're like, is
Oh
it
my gosh.
10?
Well, back in the
Mhm.
day, it was 8 to 10. Now it's 10 to 15, sometimes 20 or more colleges that young people are applying to. And
Yeah.
especially for whatever reason, Peg, they think that by applying to a whole bunch more of the highly selective schools that it's going to increase their odds, which it doesn't, folks, just so we're clear on that. So,
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah. And that's why the colleges know this, all of them, and that's why they have these wait lists because they have a class to fill. And if say it's 2,000 kids or it's at UW, it's 7,000 or whatever it is, probably more actually. They need to fill that class. They need to have that revenue coming in, so they have the list. So to your point, colleges are doing this so that they basically fill in the gap. So what if a student gets waitlisted? And we probably have some people listening where their child was waitlisted somewhere. Are there certain things that they need to do in that situation?
yeah, I think that that's a time to have a really good conversation as a family for a couple of reasons. But first of all, a student absolutely has to submit what's called a letter of continued interest, where they're going to send something to them and say, yeah, I'm still interested. In addition to that, this is a time if they have additional updates. Maybe they've received some additional awards or they've done some other tournaments or whatever kind of things that they've done that could help them stand out among the crowd. This is when you communicate those to the colleges. You have to understand that these colleges, if they're going to fill those slots, are looking for students that fit them both academically and financially. This is not a time for you to suddenly sit back and recognize, well, if I get in, I still may not be able to pay for it. And so hopefully you've run your numbers as a family ahead of time because again, the way the process works is they're going to come to you and there's different ways that they do it, but often they're going to maybe send a phone or have a phone call with the student, send them a text, leave them a voicemail, send them an email, something like that that says a spot is opened up. You've got 24 hours to let us know whether you're
Is
coming
that
or not.
pretty common? Because that was one of my other questions. Like, what are some stories of your students in the past? Like, what's like the best case scenario as far as giving people time versus like the crazy scenario where they just had to decide quickly.
Yeah. Well, let me give you the best story. So I worked with 3 years ago now, a young lady who was a fourth generation legacy to Duke. And she didn't get accepted initially. In fact, she got deferred. And then she ultimately got waitlisted. But it turned out that she got that call. She got a call from Duke saying, "Hey, you've got 24 hours to let us know if you're coming." And mom and dad had already decided, because they were both alum from Duke as well, that she was going. And so it worked out. And it's one of those situations. She's in her senior year. Things are going fantastic for her. It was really the right move. The problem with wait lists is that if you've been waitlisted, you are at the mercy of the colleges as to whether or not you're going to get in. That's why I said that you need to have a conversation with mom and dad, because you got to make sure that, hey, if you ultimately get in, you guys are going to be okay with paying the price. Because don't expect a huge amount of financial aid to suddenly come rolling in that situation. That's number one.
So
But
can
number
I just
two,
ask before you get in number
yeah.
two? So if a family, like a Duke, that maybe this isn't the case with this family, but say the family does have significant need, have you seen that they say, yeah, here, you got 24 hours, we'll let you in. They tell them the package of what they're giving them. Then have you seen where they don't? They're just like, I know we normally meet 100% in need, but this is what we're doing for you. Take it or leave it. Is it kind of like that?
I have not seen exactly that situation occur. The family I was talking about before, their student aid index number, back then it was their EFC, was more than the cost of Duke.
Right. So wasn't
So
applicable.
it was not applicable. But you and I know we've run into this before, where students have applied early decision and have gotten financial aid offers that have come back that have been, short provided, that they've been shorted when it comes to the funding gap. And so I
Yeah. And in
just think
that
you got to
situation, you can appeal and
You can,
fine.
and
But
even in this case, you could, but can you? I mean, if you've only got 24 hours to make a
yeah.
decision, it's really going to put you in a binding conversation that could take place. So that's why I say you've got to have that conversation with mom and dad ahead of time. So to that extent, I've got a young lady right now who has been waitlisted at Rice and Yale that I'm working with. And I said to her, you need to talk to mom and dad to say, if I get in, because I know their SAI, by the way, I know it's as much, but she had already shared with me that a different school that she had gotten into was too expensive. Well, how is this
Yeah.
suddenly going to fit the family budget if that's not the case? So it really is a conversation that needs to take place.
Yeah, so I would say, which we mention all the time on the podcast, just if you haven't done this and you've got a senior, set up your free MyCap account at mycap.collegeapro.com and put in those schools that matter. You can put in up to 3 schools for free. So go ahead and do that and put your profile in so that you have an idea. Because to Dan's point, you get this phone call, I'm going to ask you for like a story that's not as quick, they might have to answer quicker. You don't really have time to do this if you
Mhm.
hear back from a wait list. I mean, ideally, you've done this. If you have a junior or sophomore in high school right now, do this now. Set up that account. Start to understand your financials. So as you're picking schools that have good academic and personal fit, you're also looking at the financial affordability fit. I mean, that's key for every family. So go ahead and do it. But with this wait list, if you haven't done it and it's just, we'll figure it out, which, we hear all the time, makes my
I
skin
hate that
crawl.
phrase. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to be up against it. And then you're just going to say, well, my child got in. It's their favorite, da 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 da. Yes. And then you're figuring stuff out over the summer and realizing, oh my gosh, we got to start looking at all these different loan buckets. So you want to have your ducks in a row. And if you don't and you have a senior, it's fine, but do it now. Definitely do it. If you've made your decision, then don't worry about it. I mean, you should still do your 4-year uh, cash flow. But if you are waiting in this kind of scenario, definitely take care of that. So, do you have an example where they gave more time than that, or where it was even less time than 24 hours?
24 hours is by far the worst I've ever seen. And you have to know it just depends on some of the colleges. I mean, I've got another young lady I'm working with right now who is a violinist. That takes things to a whole different level, by the way, from a waitlisting, because you have to recognize this. If you're not letting that college know whether or not you're taking that position, you are preventing somebody else that's got the same skill set to get that spot. And that really adds pressure. I mean, that to any family that adds pressure. But what do you also do if, like in this family's case, not only has she gotten into a number of fantastic programs, but she didn't get all the money that they needed? And so, and those were conversations that we had had from the beginning. Look, you're applying to schools like Michigan. They're going to give you a little bit of money, but not as much money as you're thinking that you're going to need. And so, again, that's a real big deal. Um, it really comes down to what type of wait list that you're on. Is it for academics? Is it an artistic wait list that you've been put into? Is it, for example, a business program? I had a young lady recently who was given a little bit more time because it was like 2 weeks ago to get into the Kelly School of Business. She had come off the wait list and she needed, yeah,
Cheers!
yeah, yeah, and she needed to let them know, or was going to let them know, but there wasn't like this defining moment. She literally had until May the 1st to make the decision. That's a broader opportunity. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's really why you've got to be careful with this, because that really leads to kind of my second point that I was going to say a minute ago, which is what are you going to do if that wait list continues to carry on past the May 1st deadline? One of the other CAP experts and I the other day were going back and forth about this. I cannot stand that colleges are in control of this when it comes to that whole May 1st deadline. When you figure that they're not supposed to, there's supposed to be some leverage. And especially if you haven't gotten the financial offer, which is exactly what you could be doing there, is putting yourself into a tough situation if you haven't gotten the financial aid offer as well as this offer to get off the wait list. So what do you do? Well, what you got to do is you've got to make a decision. What's your other backup college going to be, and do something with that. It's really, really important. You got to have some place that you're going to if you're
Yeah.
going to sit on the sidelines and wait to see if you're going to get off of one of these wait lists.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a really major point there. Like in my mind, a wait list is a no. If it turns out April 30th, June 1st, whenever the college comes back and offers it, great. But in my mindset, and if I were coaching my kids and it was a favorite school situation, that's what I would say. Consider that a no. We're moving forward. What is your second choice? Look at all the pieces before we make the decision and make that decision and know, okay, well, if that comes through, then we'll look at that. Me, that's the best way to do this. Do you agree with that? Because
Totally
there's
agree.
no way, and disagree with me, please, if you don't agree. Like, there's no way to know. Like, you can't even say, well, last year Duke took this many people off the wait list, or Grinnell, or whoever, because it's completely different from year to year what they're looking for, the kids that said yes, and their profiles, and how they're trying to build a class, even just male and female. If they have a certain amount of males and females they need, well, in 2024, they could have had way more girls saying yes. And then 25, it was way more guys. There's no way you can predict this stuff based on previous years. You agree with that?
Absolutely, Peg. I mean,
Yeah.
and that's the problem with this whole thing is you're playing the lottery. You're kind of sitting back and waiting for the what if you get in. And look, I'd like to celebrate. We'd love to celebrate with you if you get into that highly selective college that you were hoping to get into. But if not, what are you going to do? I mean, you've got to have some place that you're going to go to. And I understand you had your heart set on that particular school, or that students did, but you've got to have a really solid backup school that fits you both academically and financially. Because as Peg said a few minutes ago, this is not a 1 year solution you're looking at. This is a 4 year proposition that you got to be able to pay for. So having that locked in is going to be the very, very best thing that you can do so that there's something out there to go to.
Yeah. And if the college does come back, like you were saying, and they don't give the offer that they maybe would have given a student that they admitted regular admission, or they admitted early decision, as a parent, you got to be ready to say, well, this is what we can pay. If you're there, if you're all right, we'll just make it work. Just be really, really careful with that. And you said, the highly selective college. I mean, you could get waitlisted at a favorite school that's not Harvard. Like, a lot of schools waitlist. So this
Yeah.
could be any school. I just, and I've said this before, and I did it, but that doesn't mean that it's easy. I mean, I did it as a parent and tried to get my kids to buy into this, to not get so emotionally tied to any school, because it's really a crapshoot getting in and what they're looking for. Forget about waitlisting, just getting admitted and what kind of class they're looking for. You just have no idea. And so I
Right.
think the emotional mindset around this, like I said, is great. I got waitlisted. It's my favorite school. That might be a possibility, but I'm going to just assume I'm going to whatever school the family and the student decides is where they want to go in lieu of that school. And then if it comes back, great. But if it doesn't, you're not waiting all summer for that text or that phone call. I think it's so funny that they actually will call you. They'll actually use the phone for what it's was developed for, and kids don't pick up phone calls.
They
Kids
don't.
don't listen to mine are 32. They don't listen to my voicemails.
Right.
So, if you are waitlisted, you want to be all over different forms of communication that the college might use to reach out to you, even if you're on
Yeah.
vacation or whatever, right?
Yeah. And just two other observations. If I'm sizing up two kids, if I'm in that admissions room having to make a decision who I'm going to take off the wait list, who do you think I'm likely going to offer it to first? Someone who can pay full price or someone that's going to have a financial need? I mean, I don't mean to be crass about that, but I guarantee you they're likely going to look at the family who can pay full freight to send the kid to that college. Okay. That's just the reality of where they're at. Also, because they're normally through their cycle of giving out the financial aid that they were planning on doing to attract kids to their school. So that's the first thing. You also have to recognize that, for example, early decision has become a tool that these colleges are using, and that leads to wait lists. Look at Michigan. University of Michigan, for the first time this year, did early decision. And, they're still trying to grapple with, okay, how did that turn out? What do our numbers look like? And things like that. I mean, they saw a huge spike in kids that were applying early decision, thinking that they might have a better chance of getting into that school, which let's not forget, it's a public institution, research one facility that though is highly selective to out of state kids. And again, so they've got a wait list as well as all these other companies or these other colleges.
That's a Freudian. I mean, they are
Yeah,
companies. They function like businesses.
they are a
So,
business. You're absolutely right. They've got to hit their budget. They've got to have as many full pays as they have kids that are going to need financial need through the school. They've got to hit their numbers. The budget has to work out.
yeah, so that's a key point too, is if you've been great at doing all the planning and you know what you should get from a school and you know what's affordable, and then your child does get off the wait list and it's not a great offer, I mean, I think to your point of having that family conversation around money that should be happening intermittently throughout this whole process. That's something to talk about, because if that happens, then you got to have a sit down, because there isn't a lot of time. I would reach out to the school quickly.
Yes.
If there's a 24-hour turnaround or a 2-day, and say, hey, do a mini appeal and see what they say. It might be a situation where they say no, but if they are 100% need and they've truly, I would think, and tell me if you've seen this, Lasso, if they have gapped the kid because they're accepting them off of a wait list, have you ever had a family reach out and say, "Yeah, I know, like our need is really 30,000, but you gave us 15," and had a pot? I mean, I would think the college might say, "All right, they did their homework." And then they would meet it or come close to meeting it, or maybe they just play hardball and say the offer is the offer.
No, I mean, there's always possibilities on that. I mean, it's don't take no for an answer. And then it's a matter of you got to get to the decision makers. It's not going to be some student that works in the financial aid office occasionally to help them in their busy season. You got to get to, the assistant director or the director of the financial aid department or the dean of it or whatever, the person that's going to be able to look at your case and make a decision.
Yeah. And that's another good point, is if your child gets waitlisted at their number one school that you really are going to consider, you could just proactively understand their appeal process just on the, and yeah, we are eligible for need-based aid at this school. So if you know all that, you could proactively just know, to your point, the decision maker. And so if this all comes through, your child gets an offer and to to go to the school and a package, that you have your ducks in a row to quickly reach out if it's a short turnaround. Again, my husband would probably go, God, that's just way too much planning. It's dumb. He makes fun of me all the time. But if it comes through, then you have it. You've got
Mhm.
that information, because then it is schools aren't going to give you tons of time, and you can always ask for extensions. But when it comes to wait lists, they might not be. I mean, I've had families early decision ask for time on an appeal, and usually the answer is yes. But this is more, they want to fill that class, they want to get this done. Like you said, they're more in the driver's seat here, where it's like,
They
well,
are.
we've got another 100,000 kids that would be happy to just say yes on the phone. That you're not in the driver's seat when it comes to wait lists. So try and have all your ducks in a row as best you can, so that you can turn it around quickly, so that it's affordable and it's like a happy day in your family, right? Because it's like, all
That's
right,
right.
we're gonna go there. But so, key takeaways, parting thoughts for everybody that you want to share?
If a student's been put on a wait list, be proactive. In other words, don't just sit back. I've had some kids that sit back. I'm kind of deciding what I'm going to do. Oh, no, you've got to be on top of it. You've got to demonstrate to that college that you're serious about, if you get in, you'll go. If they'll accept you, you will go. Make sure that you do that letter of continued interest. Again, highlight any of the updates that have taken place from the student standpoint, and then cross your fingers and hope that you're one of the folks, because again, Peg, you said this before, it's very true. You don't have any idea where you are on that entire list. You don't know if you're number 1 or if you're number 500 on that wait list as to what they do. But so all you can do is you can control what you can control, which is giving them what they need, and at least making the connection. And if they call, pick up.
Yeah, be all over texts and phone calls,
Yes.
and I think too, don't have an expectation based on previous years, based on your neighbor. Oh, I had better grades and I had better, and she got off the wait list. None of that matters based on what we're sharing. None of that matters for admission anymore,
Right.
let alone getting off a wait list. It really doesn't. And then the main point I would make around mindset is, you get waitlisted, do everything Dan's telling you to do, and have that in that bucket. 110%, put your best foot forward, but move on. Like, pick the school you want to go, get pumped about it, and move forward with that. Absolutely. Because odds are not in your favor for any
They aren't.
school at any moment to get in. So just do it, but don't be living in that world. If I never hear from them, I have to go here. That's where you want to have, especially if you're applying to schools that 4 or 5% of kids get in. My opinion, you assume you're not going to get into these schools. They're just wild cards. So have that mindset. So if you never get that call and you don't get off the wait list, you're super pumped for your next chapter, right? And I think as parents, you can guide your kids on this mindset instead of, disappointment is fine. I'm a big advocate for no is an opportunity, and you could look back on your life and say, it was actually great that I lost that job, because then this and this happened, and it's going to be the same, and your child's going to end up where they belong and where they're going to thrive, and they should have more than one school on their list that they're super psyched about. So
No, Peg, that's great advice. That's exactly the way I approach it too, because I can tell you I've had conversations where students are really bummed out that they didn't get into a particular school. And my answer to it is, hey, it's their loss. If they had gotten you, you would have done as well there as you're going to do at the other college that you're looking at going to. So don't dwell on it, move on, because you're going to do great things wherever you go to college because of you. It's not about the
yeah,
college. It's truly about you,
yeah.
and all that you bring to the table.
Yeah, where you're gonna thrive, and just it wasn't meant to be.
Right.
And it's a good life lesson, because as you get older, a lot of things don't happen that you wanted, and you gotta get out of bed the next day and move on. So it's part of life, right? None of us escape that as we go through life. So all right, well, this was great. Thank you Thank you for being here
Oh,
again.
glad to
As
be here.
always,
Yeah, it's
it's
terrific.
always fun to chat. And yeah, everybody, we will see you next time. We're almost to the end of April, which is nuts. Next Friday is May 1st, which is crazy. So we will be doing our Q&A grab bag next week, like we always do on the last Thursday. So please you can send in your questions you can put them on social if you're following us on Instagram or TikTok or wherever. I don't know if you follow on TikTok or what you do on that, but send us questions. We will do our best, Matt and I, to answer as much as we can next week. That's your chance to ask us your stuff. Send it in to us however you communicate with us. And we're excited to see you next time. Have a great upcoming weekend. And again, thanks again, Lasso, for being here.
You better believe it. Yeah, good luck, everybody. Take care.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you like what you heard, please follow us, share the show, or even send it to a parent or counselor who you think would enjoy it. I'm your host, Peg Keogh. Today I spoke with Dan Bisig, a CAP admissions and financial aid expert. We did a deep dive into all things waitlisting. This episode was produced by the wonderful Eileen Campbell, and we'll see you back here next week.
Put my foot in my mouth. Though you're pure of heart, you can't pull it out. But you keep lying around. I keep lying to myself. Back when I used to get by, giving it the old college try. I can't keep up with you, and I didn't come this far to feed you all my life, but you get the best of my time. You put me on another walk of shame with a little pep in my stride. Couldn't break your spell if I tried. Put my foot in my mouth. You're always laughing at me for crying out loud. Well, it's something that I can't help, but you always say, well, hell, we'll figure it out. Punch me in the face and make my day, baby. Whip me into shape and I'll come around. And I used to get by, giving